Sir, step away from the door. Hands where I can see them.
They're up. I'm Marcus Ellington. I'm dropping off client documents for the credit union.
Drop the case now.
It's just contracts. You can check. The drop box is right here.
Todd, maybe we should...
He was hanging around the door. Looked like he was checking
That's
security.
prep for
That's
a
all
robbery.
on camera. I told him he looked
They pointed guns at a black man who was only dropping off papers at a bank. They screamed at him to get on the ground. They said he looked suspicious. They said he was casing the place. But what nobody knew, not the panicked caller, not the loud cop with the shaking hands, not even the customers recording on their phones, was that the man they were humiliating was one of the most powerful financial investigators in the country, a man whose signature alone could shut down an entire police district. And in less than 10 minutes, the whole street was about to learn that the quiet black man they treated like a threat was actually the one person they should have never crossed. Before we jump in, make sure you subscribe to the channel for more powerful stories like this. And tell us in the comments where you're watching from. Step away from the box. Hands up. Now. Officer Todd Rennick's voice cracked through the cold Hartford morning like a gunshot. His palm hovered over his holstered weapon. His face was already red, not from the cold but from anger he didn't even bother hiding. Across from him stood a black man in a charcoal suit, tall and calm, holding a leather briefcase like he was afraid to drop it. I said hands up. Rennick barked again. The man raised his palms slowly, carefully, like each movement could be twisted into something dangerous. A group of customers near the glass doors gasped and scrambled back. One woman whispered, "Oh my God, is he robbing the bank?" Another already had her phone out. Officer Hannah Kessler, young and jumpy, rushed in beside her partner, copying his stance. "Sir, step away from the drop box immediately," she shouted, voice shaky but loud. The man tried to speak. "Officer, I was just..." "Quiet." Rennick snapped. "You move one more inch and you're on the ground. You understand me?" And that is where our story begins. A quiet black man. A bank drop box. A 911 call fueled by fear, not facts. Police who showed up ready for a fight that did not exist. A humiliation that was only minutes away from flipping on every person watching. His name was Marcus Ellington, 37 years old. 6'4". Deep brown skin that always caught the sun beautifully. Sharp eyes that stayed calm even when the world turned ugly. Charcoal suit fitted perfectly, the kind of suit you wear when you know who you are. He looked like a businessman you might see walking into a meeting downtown, except that wasn't what people saw. Right now, people only saw a tall black man holding a briefcase. To them, that was enough. Marcus breathed slowly, the way his grandmother taught him growing up in South Carolina. "Inhale peace," she used to say. "Exhale everything trying to break you." Even now, surrounded by shouting, fingers on triggers, rumors forming like storm clouds, he looked steady. But on the inside? Inside, something quiet and old pulsed in his chest. Pain he had carried his whole life. Moments of being followed in stores as a teenager. Moments of being talked down to in college. Moments of being assumed less than even after graduating top of his class. He was used to it. But that didn't mean it didn't hurt. This morning, he had only come to drop off sensitive documents for a case he was investigating. A multi-million-dollar fraud case. One he had been entrusted with because he was one of the best. A senior field analyst for the Federal Financial Crimes Commission. A man with the authority to walk into any bank in the country and freeze accounts with just one call. But he didn't flash his badge everywhere. He didn't brag. He didn't shout. He just did his job. And right now, he wasn't allowed to say a single word. "Officer, please," Marcus tried again. "Shut it," Rennick yelled, stepping forward. "You think I didn't see you sneaking around the building? Looking inside the windows? Acting jumpy when we pulled in?" Marcus blinked. "I wasn't sneaking." Rennick cut him off with a laugh full of disgust. "Oh really? Just a businessman in a fancy suit wandering around a bank drop box at 8 in the morning? That's your story?" Kessler chimed in, trying to sound tough. "Why were you even here before the bank opens? You waiting for an employee to unlock the door so you can rush inside?" A bystander muttered, "I saw him walking back and forth earlier. Looked weird to me." Another whispered, "Maybe he has a weapon." Marcus swallowed anger. He kept his voice even. "I put documents in the night drop. That's all." Rennick burst out laughing. "Oh sure. Sure you did. Because men like you always carry leather briefcases full of documents." People around them laughed. Nervous laughs, embarrassed laughs, the kind you use when you don't want to admit you're afraid. Marcus lowered his eyes. Not in shame, but in tiredness. He had lived this moment too many times. He said nothing. He did nothing. But he was still a threat. Kessler moved closer, her breath white in the cold air. Empty your pockets slowly. Marcus looked at her, then at the crowd watching like he was some kind of show. I have not done anything wrong, he said softly. Rennick's eyes lit with fury. Wrong? He barked. You think you get to decide what's wrong? You fit the description of someone casing this bank. The caller said you looked dangerous. That's enough for me. There it was. Enough. Not evidence. Not behavior. Not truth. Just fear. Just assumption. Just the color of his skin. Rennick reached out, grabbing Marcus by the wrist roughly. Phone shot up. Someone gasped loudly. A little kid started crying. Still, Marcus didn't resist. Didn't yell. Didn't pull away. He let them think they had control. Because they had no idea the storm quietly waiting behind him. No idea who they were touching. No idea whose life they were treating like a street performance. But they were about to learn. Marcus breathed in. Slowly. He didn't look scared. He didn't look angry. He looked disappointed. And that bothered Rennick more than any threat could have. Just as Rennick tightened his grip, a black SUV rolled into the parking lot. Not fast. Not loud. Just smooth and quiet, like a shadow shifting into place. 3 more cars followed behind it. Then another. And another. Unmarked. Tinted. Official. The kind of cars you never notice until it's too late. The crowd turned. Kessler stepped back. Rennick's hand twitched toward his weapon. Marcus didn't move. Didn't even look. He knew those cars. He knew the plates. He knew the people inside. His backup had arrived. Navy coat, eyes that could cut through steel. This woman didn't run. She didn't shout. She didn't rush. She simply walked. Direct. Confident. Authority dripping from every step. She stopped right beside Marcus. Mr. Ellington, she said, voice calm but firm, I apologize for the delay. Headquarters said you were already inside. The crowd froze. Rennick blinked. Kessler's jaw dropped. Marcus finally lifted his eyes. Morning, Agent Keene, he said softly. She turned to the officers, her stare colder than the autumn wind. Why is one of my senior federal analysts being restrained? Silence. Not the quiet kind, the dangerous kind. The kind that makes your heart knock against your ribs. Rennick stammered, You're, what? He's with you. Keene didn't answer him. She didn't need to. Dozens of federal agents stepped out of the parked SUVs behind her. Men and women in black coats, badges out, checking the scene. The power balance flipped so fast the air felt different. Rennick stepped back like someone had punched him. Kessler looked like she wanted to sink into the pavement. The bystanders slowly lowered their phones. Agent Keene spoke again, this time louder, loud enough for every person filming. This man is leading the investigation into fraudulent activities connected to this bank. He had full authorization to be here. Full authorization. Rennick's face drained of color. Kessler's eyes flitted from Marcus to her partner, panic rising. The crowd murmured. Someone whispered, Oh my God, we messed up. Another said, he wasn't the threat. The threat was the fear. And Marcus, still calm, simply took back his wrist. No anger. No outburst. Just dignity. The kind his grandmother taught him. Agent Keene folded her arms. Officers, from this point on, step away from Mr. Ellington. Do not speak to him. Do not touch him. Do not come within 10 feet of him. Rennick swallowed. Ma'am, there was a call? I did not ask for an excuse, she cut sharply. She glanced at Marcus. Did they threaten you? Marcus didn't look at the officers. He looked at the ground. They made assumptions, he said quietly. Loud ones. Agent Keene nodded once. Then she turned to Rennick. Badge number. What? He whispered. Badge number. When he didn't answer quickly enough, she snapped. Now. Rennick gave it. Voice trembling. Kessler did too, wide-eyed, shaking. Keene wrote both down in a small black book. Expect federal review, she said flatly. Effective immediately. Rennick looked like the wind had been knocked out of him. Customers stared at him with disgust. One woman muttered, This is what happens when you judge people by color, not behavior. Kessler wiped her eyes quietly. And Marcus? He just breathed. Finally. The tension slowly melted from the air, leaving something softer behind. A man from the crowd whispered, I'm sorry. I really thought. Marcus shook his head gently. No harm in being wrong. The harm is in holding on to it. Several people lowered their eyes. Agent Keene placed a hand on Marcus's shoulder. You good? He exhaled. I will be. And for the first time that morning he smiled. A small one. but real. Marcus turned to the crowd. Voice low, steady, soft. Fear makes people dangerous, he said. But truth makes them better. Silence. Everyone felt it. Even the wind seemed to pause. They tried to arrest a man who could shut down their entire police division with one signature. They humiliated him, mocked him, treated him like a threat. But when the truth came out, when the federal cars filled that parking lot, the whole neighborhood froze. And what happened next? Nobody, not the officers, not the caller, not the crowd, was ready for the storm that followed. The parking lot outside Willow Street Credit Union was silent, too silent. Not the peaceful kind. The heavy kind. The kind that comes right after a loud crash, when everyone is afraid to breathe, afraid to move, afraid to admit what they just saw. Rennick stood frozen. Kessler stared at the ground, tears drying on her cheeks. Bystanders kept their phones half raised, unsure if they should keep recording or pretend they weren't a part of the moment. And Marcus? Marcus Ellington stood tall, breathing slow, finally free from the grip that had held him minutes earlier. The man who had been treated like a criminal now stood like a judge. Agent Lurd Keene didn't give anyone time to recover. Bring him inside, she told her team, nodding toward Marcus. We continue the audit as planned. Audit. The word alone made several bank employees stiffen. Bank manager Harold Flint, short, round, sweating through his baby blue shirt, hurried out of the doors with a nervous smile. Agent Keene, Mr. Ellington? We didn't know. Marcus turned his head slightly, tired eyes settling on the manager. You didn't need to know, he said softly. You only needed to treat people with respect. Flint swallowed hard. Keene gestured to her agents. Secure the building. Prepare conference room A. And inform the district attorney's office that we may need immediate cooperation. Her tone cut through the cold air like a blade. Rennick's jaw fell open. Wait, hold on. You're going inside? With him? After he. Keene turned slowly. After he what, Officer Rennick? She asked. Submitted documents to a Dropbox? Rennick's face twisted. He looked suspicious. Keene stepped toward him. Not fast. Not threatening. Just steady. And you looked dangerous, she said calmly. And only one of you was right. The crowd murmured. Phones went back up. Kessler flinched. The truth was heavy. Inside the glass doors, Marcus paused. For years, he had walked into banks with confidence. He had walked into corporate towers. He had walked into government offices. People greeted him with respect because they knew his role. But today had been different. Today had been a reminder that no matter how polished his suit was, no matter how high his position was, no matter how clean his record was, some people only saw one thing first, his skin. He closed his eyes briefly. A memory swept in, his grandmother's hands on his shoulders when he was 9 years old, after a shop owner accused him of stealing candy he didn't take. Baby, she said, the world will try to make you small. But remember, your truth is taller than their fear. He whispered those words now under his breath. My truth is taller. And he stepped inside the bank. Inside, customers stared at Marcus like he was a storm cloud. Some whispered. Some avoided his eyes. Some nodded at him with quiet shame. But one person didn't avoid him. Rebecca Mallard, the woman who made the 911 call, stood by the counter shaking. 52 years old, graying hair pulled into a messy bun, still clutching the phone she used earlier. She gasped when she saw Marcus walk in with federal agents behind him. Oh my God. I didn't know, she stuttered. Marcus didn't stop, didn't slow, didn't glare. He simply looked at her. Not angry, just tired. She broke. Tears spilled down her face. I'm so sorry, she whispered. You were walking around the bank and I got nervous and I thought you were. Marcus finally spoke. What did you think I was, ma'am? Rebecca swallowed hard. A robber, she whispered. You kept looking inside the windows and pacing and I didn't want anyone to get hurt. Marcus stared at her. You didn't want anyone to get hurt, he said quietly. But you didn't think that included me. Rebecca's face crumbled. She covered her mouth. Customers behind her lowered their eyes. Agent Keene stepped forward. We can discuss statements later, she said firmly. Right now, please step aside. Rebecca stumbled back, still crying. Marcus walked past her. No revenge. No cruelty. Just clarity. Sometimes truth itself is the punishment. Inside the conference room, the full force of Marcus's authority came alive. Agents placed thick folders on the table. Screens lit up. Charts appeared. Federal seals glowed on laptops. Bank employees stared in horror. Marcus, once treated like a threat, now sat at the head of the table. He opened his briefcase, the same one everyone outside assumed carried a weapon. Inside were federal documents, legal orders, case files, clearance codes, and a black badge that could open doors the officers outside didn't even know existed. Agent Keene addressed the room. Mr. Ellington will lead this investigation. You will follow every instruction he gives. Failure to do so will result in immediate federal obstruction charges. Clear? Everyone nodded. Marcus wasn't just important. He wasn't just powerful. He was the one person in the building whose decisions could change dozens of lives. This wasn't revenge. This was reality. This was who he actually was. While Marcus focused on the audit, the fallout outside began. 2 internal affairs officers arrived. Then the deputy police chief. Officer Rennick was separated from his partner and escorted to the back of a cruiser. Phones recorded everything. One woman whispered loudly, "He shouldn't have treated that man like that. He didn't even ask questions." Another added, "This is why we record. This is why we speak up." Kessler sat on the curb, elbows on her knees, eyes red. "I didn't mean for it to go that far," she kept saying. "I thought he was dangerous. I didn't think. Marcus could hear her voice through the glass. He didn't turn. But he heard. The truth hurts louder than a siren. After finishing a critical part of the audit, Marcus finally stepped outside. The agents followed. Cameras flashed. Voices hushed. Rennick, now on the curb in handcuffs, glared at him. Marcus looked down at him. Not with revenge. With pity. Rennick scoffed. "Go ahead. Say something. Enjoy it." Marcus crouched down slowly so their eyes were level. "I don't enjoy any of this," Marcus said. "Do you know why?" Rennick didn't answer. Marcus continued. "Because you were supposed to protect people. All people. Not just the ones who look like you. But you saw me and decided I was danger before I even spoke." Rennick's jaw clenched. "That mistake," Marcus said softly, "didn't just embarrass you. It exposed you." Kessler lifted her head from the curb, tears rolling again. Marcus stood. Agent Keene spoke firmly behind him. "Officer Rennick, Officer Kessler, you are both suspended pending full investigation." Kessler broke into sobs. Rennick closed his eyes. The crowd filmed. Instant karma. Delivered without a raised voice, without a punch, without a single act of violence. Just truth. Marcus stepped further away, letting the officers be escorted. The crowd watched him. Some whispered apologies. Some looked ashamed. Some nodded in respect. A young black teenager walked up slowly. "Sir?" he asked quietly. Marcus turned. The boy swallowed. "Does this stuff ever get easier?" Marcus paused. He saw himself in that boy. Saw 15-year-old Marcus, scared and confused. Saw every moment in his life where he had to shrink himself just to survive the day. He placed a hand on the boy's shoulder. "No," Marcus said softly. "It doesn't always get easier." The boy's eyes fell. "But," Marcus added, "you get stronger. And you learn when to speak, when to stand firm, and when to let the world see who you really are." The boy nodded, eyes glistening. Marcus gave him a small smile. "Your truth is taller than their fear," he whispered. The boy repeated the words quietly. People around them listened. People felt it. As the federal agents finished the scene and the crowd slowly dispersed, Marcus stood alone for a moment in the golden leaves. He looked at the glass entrance where everything began. Then he said the line he would be remembered for that day. "Respect shouldn't depend on who I am, but I hope one day, it won't depend on what I look like either." The wind carried the words. And they stayed. If you made it to the end of Chapter 2, don't forget to subscribe for more powerful stories. And tell us in the comments. If you were Marcus, would you forgive the officers? Or let the consequences play out fully?